What's up, everyone? I think we're live. I'm sitting down today with Casey Stubbs. What's up, Casey? How are you doing today?
Hi, Etienne. How are you?
Pleasure to have you here. I think it's the first time on YouTube, and we did an interview before. I think there's a few people watching us right now. That's awesome. Welcome, guys. So we did an interview before a few months ago, and I was on your podcast a few days ago. I think it's gonna be published later and stuff. But I want to bring you guys. I want to bring you back. Talk about more like a follow-up interview. Talk about what you've been doing these past month, and dive into a little bit more deep onto what you do and what you work on. So take a few moments to introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you do, and a bit of background about yourself.
Okay, well, my name's Casey, and I'm kind of like you in the fact that I like to travel and to do some other things, and being able to work online and trade. And I trade, but I also have some trading businesses that I run, I publish financial media. I work with financial traffic. I do buying and selling traffic, have a couple trading related businesses in addition to trading. And just in the last month, I was on vacation. I was traveling for about a month. I drove across the country. So I live in Pennsylvania and I have 9 kids. And so once a year, we all jump in the van, my wife and all my kids, and we travel across the country to visit my family, which is all the way in Oregon. So we travel across the country, see the country, and it's kind of cool because the whole time I'm working, my wife likes to drive. She doesn't let me drive because she thinks that I can't drive. She's a little bit of a control freak, and so she spends the whole time panicking if I'm driving. She's like, "Look out, there's cars." So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll just work. So I turn my phone into a hotspot and I put my laptop in and I check out my trades and I work on the business while we're driving down the road. So it's a pretty cool way to work. You get some nice views from doing it that way.
Yeah, love that. And I've said this with time, the fact that I think it's a big mistake to see yourself as only a forex trader or only a stock trader, whatever. So you do a couple of different things that's awesome. So maybe tell people kind of how you started to first trade and what happened after. Was it just one time, or how did that turn out?
Well, I started investing and trading long time ago. I was very young, and my dad was into this market, and he had taught me some things, and he didn't know how to do anything on the computer. So he needed me to help him get set up online because that was when trading just went online. So he didn't even know how to use a computer. That was early 90s. I was like 17. And so that's what got me interested in the market. I've always been a computer nerd. And then I started buying stocks when I was young. And then I did some careers and was in the Army and some other things. But while I was doing that, I was always investing in the markets. And had been doing that for probably till I was 30. And I didn't get involved in online business until about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so I was always investing. And then I just started documenting my trades online. I was sharing a free training blog. And what happened was I learned a little bit about how to make money online through sharing my own experience trading, kind of like what you're doing now with the podcast. And when you share different things that you're doing, I was just sharing what I was learning and I was applying it to myself, but it became useful to the audience. And I was able to make additional revenue from the website at that point, in addition to trading.
Nice. So how did that evolve from stocks to Forex? Was it like a clear moment or just kind of over time, something you went on or be more interested in, or how did that work?
Well, Forex was not around then. I mean, they've always had currency trading, but it wasn't available for retail traders until sort of recently. I'm not sure exactly what year it was they released it, but so it was kind of a new thing. And I just was curious about it because I heard this new thing was out because it wasn't open to retail traders. They opened up a few brokerages. And so there was a lot of marketing around it. I think what happened was FXCM, which doesn't even have a brokerage to the US anymore, but I think I responded to one of their ads and started trying that in addition to my stock trading. And I really enjoyed it. I thought that the liquidity was really good. The fact that the market was moving 24/7 was pretty attractive. The leverage was attractive as well. So there was a lot of things going for it that made it really interesting and drew my attention.
Nice. And how was your learning curve? Because a lot of people want to start to trade, or they maybe started trading in the past, but then they get to a point where kind of things get hard and they kind of move forward. So how was that for you? Were you profitable from the start, or did you have to kind of overcome some challenges over time?
The learning curve from stocks and Forex is not real different, depending on how you trade with your stocks. If you're a stock trader and you are using technical indicators, then it's very similar to technical indicators or price action, depending on how you trade, but looking for price patterns and the way price moves. It really moves the same in all markets, right? So the same strategies that you're trading not all of the strategies will work, but a lot of the strategies that are working in the stock trading will work in currency trading, because the markets move in a very similar fashion. And so the transition was not that difficult as far as figuring out the ropes on how to actually do it. Dealing with the leverage was a lot different. So that was an experience, because originally I would get over leveraged quite a bit because of the excitement of the ability to make a lot of money quickly. So you over leverage, you end up taking more trades than what you should. Your size is way too big and you get yourself into trouble. So it did take some time to learn how to do that. And once I got my leverage on pace, then the transition wasn't too difficult after that.
Awesome. Cool. So I want to remind guys that this is interactive. You can comment in the chat and let us know if you have any question for Casey or I. We'll try to answer your question. And the best video we do are always wanting people have questions that are cool, that are engaged, because that makes it better for sure. So Casey, I want to know, you have a website called Trading Strategy Guides. And on that website, who I've been a couple of times in the past, you have a couple of indicators that are pretty useful. Now, how do you come to create those indicators? Was this from the start, or you started later? And why do you create them?
Okay, so the main reason that we use indicators with trading strategy guides is we find trading strategies and we like to teach traders how to use them. So we develop it out. We go into real detail on it. And one of the things about finding a strategy is sometimes there's a lot of manual work involved, right? So like, for example, one of the strategies we have is called the EFC. And it's based off of the RSI. Okay, so what you have to do is you put your RSI indicator on the chart, and then you wait for, and that you can use the RSI for a lot of different things. You can use it for momentum. You can use it for overbought or oversold, however you want to use it. But the strategy that we were learning was a reversal strategy. And we were teaching that strategy. And it can be kind of difficult and time consuming trying to find when the reversal happens, because what we're looking for is a divergence. And for those of you that don't know what a divergence is, it means when the RSI goes down, let's say to a below 30, and then it makes a new low on the price, but yet the RSI does not make a new low. And so it's an indication that the market is getting tired and that you could begin to see a reversal. Well, plotting it on the chart, finding the divergence, drawing out the lines on it can take some time and can be tedious if you're trying to do it several times. So we created indicators that help you identify divergence quickly. And one of those indicators is called the EFC, based off of that strategy to find it quickly. And so how do we actually create those tools? Is we test the strategy, we figure out the easiest way to trade it, and then we try to basically create a tool to make the trader's job easier.
Mm-hmm. I really like this principle. So you get something coded with script, and that means that you have less room for errors, more time for yourself, not having to watch the chart all the time, perhaps. And you take the trade manually, or is it with the script completely?
It's manual. It just gives you an indication of when to take the trade. We do program it for several different trading platforms. And so one of our favorite platforms now, and I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but it's called TradingView.
Oh yeah,
And the
definitely.
reason we love TradingView so much is because we can trade stocks, we can trade cryptocurrency, we can trade futures, we can trade currencies. As you know, crypto is really huge right now. Everybody wants to trade crypto. And so when we create our indicator and we put it on TradingView, it doesn't really matter what market you trade, you can use that indicator.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. And so that's really interesting. I think it makes some light for like people that kind of want to systemize things more. And when your rules are not clear, then you cannot code, and that's a sign that you have to do things different, I think. Now, I need to ask you this because I had a trader recently, just last Monday on the podcast, kind of bashing indicators a little bit, saying that price action and looking at levels was the only way to trade. So how would you respond to that yourself? Because I know you have a lot of experience on that topic.
Well, that is a great comment, but it's also limiting, right? So I think the proper way that this person should have phrased that sentence would be, for me, price action is the only way to trade. But I know that there are some traders that use indicators that are successful. So for him to say that no one else is successful and only him is a pretty limiting belief system. And I think he's really full of it. I think that price action is a great way to trade. I think that levels are a great way to trade. But I also think that indicators can be very useful and helpful as well. I do think that it's helpful to keep things simple. Like a lot of indicators will clutter up your charts and make them look really messy, and you just can't figure out what's going on. If it's really too complicated for you to follow, then you're not going to be able to follow it. So you want to make your system simple and clean and easy. But indicators can actually help with that. And you can even use indicators for levels too. You can write code that will help you find your levels. So I think that if you can use tools to assist you in your trading, no matter who you are, I think it's a good idea. But if you don't want to and you're still doing well, then great. I mean, I'm not going to say that your system doesn't work just because I don't want to use it.
Yeah, I would love that answer. That's what I see for myself. The fact that I cannot trade price action because of the fact that there's kind of too many small things or too many maybe emotions that are going to derail you from what you're supposed to do. And so I found that having indicators was like really clear cut. Like it's either this or it's not, and it's simple. And I think the rules are much more clear that way. But for some people that work well with that, then yeah, it's awesome for sure. So great answer. I love it. And so when it comes to backtesting, how much backtesting do you do on your strategies, and how do you have a process or step-by-step thing to go through all the time, or is it different every time?
So I think the best way to backtest is to actually go through and do manual back tests, and there's a couple different really good tools available for that. One of them, and we can put this in the show notes too, is I'll give you two on how to do back testing. One of them is Forex Tester, which is a paid option. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if it works with a MT4 trading platform. Another one is a free one that you can get that's very similar to Forex Tester, and that's on a website called FX Blue. FX Blue, I believe that's the link. We'd have to verify.
But mentioned that in the past. And
there's a lot of great tools there on FX Blue. And one of those tools is a back testing tool. And so what you do is you plug it in to your MT4 platform, and you put all of your indicators or even your price action, and you put it on the chart, and you run it through Strategy Tester. And then when a trade happens, you click the buy button. It'll buy the trade. It'll totally simulate it. You have to do it manually, but it totally simulates what your profit and loss is based off of your system. And it's a really excellent way to do it. And you can speed it up and slow it down. And if you do that, you can actually go ahead and figure out how well your strategy is going to work. And obviously, I think one of the great ways to measuring results is forward testing. You put a strategy in place, you trade it, and you analyze the data. You make sure that you follow your rules. You do a series of trades, 30 trades, 20, 30, and then you test how the results went. and then you analyze it. And then if you want to make a change, you make a change based off of off of those results, but you only change like one thing. Only change one thing so you can see how that impacted the strategy. So if you test your results and you do 30 trades and then you get X results and you say, well, maybe I'll change the entry, the exit, and the stop loss. And then you do another test, you're not going to know which change impacted your trading. So you really want to test each thing and only do it one at a time.
Yeah, and I think because I've done that a long time, trying to test different things and like putting everything on scratch and then starting again. But you forget kind of what works and what doesn't, and you don't pick the right parts. So yeah, that's kind of a big mistake.
Yeah, and it is because there's no way to really measure your results. And I think that no matter what you're doing, you got to measure your results. You should have goals and plans and strategies. And I'm kind of a nerd person, and I love that kind of stuff. It gets me really excited to sit down and make plans and to go over my goals and to try to achieve things. A lot of people think that's boring, but I like it. But I think that in order to really have success in trading, you really need to measure your results and you have to have a plan, because without it, you're just kind of going blind, and it's really hard to make any progress if you're going blind.
Definitely. We had a good question from Gregory who asked, what is the most challenging aspect of being a trader?
I think that there's a lot of different things. So to say which one is the most difficult, that's a really tough question. So I would say that the most difficult is discipline to follow your strategy. I would say not taking trades to take the trade, like, oh man, the market's moving, I want to take this trade. To not do that and to sit back and just to wait for your setup to develop and to only take the trades based on your rules and to follow those rules. I think that is one of the hardest parts for traders. And you guys can either agree or disagree with me on that on the chat, because maybe different people have different things that they think is difficult. But I think for me, that was a really difficult one. Another one is to find a system that actually works for you. Because if you follow your rules and your system doesn't work, then you're not doing much better anyways. But the good thing about it is if you follow your rules and the system doesn't work, you know what the problem is. You know that it's the system and not you. If you can't follow the system, then you know that you're the problem, right? And so if you do follow the rules, you have discipline, you find out the system doesn't work, well, great, the system doesn't work. Make some changes and find a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm. In terms of discipline, would you agree with the fact that over time that aspect becomes kind of easier to take the trades you have to take? Like, maybe better what you trade, and then you're more kind of practice to take the right trades.
Yeah, I think it does get easier because of pain. For me, I think pain is a great way to learn. In life, no matter what we do in life, we're going to have painful experiences, and we can either choose to learn from it or we can choose to continue to go on and experience more pain, right? So like the kid who's 2 years old that touches the hot stove, right? He's instantly going to learn that behavior causes pain, right? And as soon as he does that, it hurts and he's not going to do it again. The funny thing about traders is maybe that's not a great example, because touching something and actually burning your hand is like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. But losing money, maybe you just got enough money that you're just willing to experience that pain over and over and over and over and over again. But sometimes it takes that much. But yeah, the way discipline is taught is through pain, and either you're going to change or you're not. But once you actually make that change and you get the discipline, then it becomes easy. Once you conquer it, then it becomes easy. The key is just not to give up and to continue working on it. And if you fall down, get back up. Fall down, get back up. Fall down, get back up. Nothing in life that's worth accomplishing is easy, but you got to have that persevering mindset to keep going through the tough times.
Yeah, love that. But of course, you need to have a profitable system, which I think I want to go back to. Like, for someone starting out right now, what would be a step and kind of time frame to look for to create a system that works in the market? Would that take like 2 weeks or a month or more, or what would be the steps?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that question, like how long it'll take. It takes a while.
Okay.
So I don't really know specifically how long. It could be different for everybody. I would say that you do your research, find something. The big thing is to find something that works for you based off of your life goals, your personal goals, what you want to do. Like Etienne, you like to travel, right? And
Yeah.
so you've had to adjust your trading to fit in with the lifestyle that you want to live.
Yeah.
If you're working a job, you're not going to be able to day trade. You just got to find something, a strategy that works for you. So that's the first thing, is to find a strategy that works for you. And that's why we've produced the site Trading Strategy Guides, because it's got so many different strategies on there to help people find strategies that will work for them. And we do strategies for everybody, all kinds of strategies. And we do a good job of putting them in good detail, explaining how they work, giving step-by-step clear instructions. So can I answer a question? Because I got the chat logged in.
Yeah, sure. Good. Go ahead.
Okay, not to cut you off, I just saw
It's all right.
so somebody was asking about my previous company, Winner's Edge Trading, and one of the people that was working for me there. So what happened was I launched Trading Strategy Guides, and it really took off, and I have people that are managing it, and the site did really well because people really enjoyed the content. And so my role in the job had changed, and so I wasn't doing as much work. And so what happened was that Trading Strategy Guides actually acquired Winner's Edge Trading, and they absorbed into one company. So Trading Strategy Guides launched, grew, and then it just absorbed Winner's Edge. So Winner's Edge is actually not in existence anymore, but all of the resources and tools that we built got absorbed by Trading Strategy Guides. And one of my longtime hosts of my trading room, his name was Tim. He still works teaching traders with Trading Strategy Guides now.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. So yeah, how do you personally get ideas for trading strategies? Is it yourself, like just randomly, or do you have a process for that?
The main way that we come up with ideas is things that we know that traders are looking for, right? So we know that traders really want to know how to do daily time frame strategies because they need them, because they want long term, or scalping strategies because there's traders that really want to know how to scalp, or traders that want to use the RSI. So we find out what traders are looking for, then we want to build the strategies that help them out, to help them fulfill their trading goals and to help them with their trading needs. And so all of our trading strategies are available on our site. You just got to search them, and they're really easy to understand, simple instructions. And if you have any questions about any of them, you can just send us an email and we'll gladly clarify any questions that you may have.
Mm-hmm. There was a question about indicators somewhere. I think that was a point from Scott. So do you have kind of a limit of indicators to use per strategy, or can you add like many depending on how that works?
You can add as many as you want. I saw Scott mentioned in the comments, and he said that he likes to keep it small, like the fewer. And I agree with that. I think that simpler is better. And that's one of the reasons why we build custom indicators too, is because it's nice to be able to, if you have like 3 indicators and you got to see if it has to have A, B, C, D before you take a trade, well, we'll just combine them into one, and we'll highlight the chart when it's happening to make it a little more simple on the trading process, because I think that simplicity is really one of the most important things to helping traders. It helps them with their discipline, because if it's simple, you can do it. If it's too complicated, you're eventually going to give up and not pursue further.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the different platform you would code for today, like if you were to start from scratch, would you pick a platform in particular, like TradingView or something different to code?
I'm not a coding expert, so I don't I just hire coders, but my favorite platform is by far TradingView. There are limitations to that as well, because you can't really trade from it, which I've actually sent them multiple emails asking them if they would allow us to trade from it. And there's a couple brokers that work, but for whatever I trade, it doesn't work. So I still have to have different brokerage accounts and not trade from the charts. I would like it if they would connect up to a broker, but so there's still limitations, but it is my favorite platform for a couple of reasons. Number one is it's web-based. So you don't have to download any software. You just trade it. It's free. It's web-based. And it covers every market, and it's clean and easy to use, and it looks really nice. So you throw all that stuff together, it's a fantastic tool for traders.
Yeah. I've been trading on TradingView for about 6 months now, maybe a little bit more, but it works pretty well. Yeah. Just to add to that, but yeah, it's a good platform.
Yeah, I think they've done really well since they launched. I mean, the site is massive now, and they're always improving.
Awesome. Cool. What do you think most traders do wrong these days when they try to create a system? Is there like a common mistake that people reach out to you and they always like get stuck at that point?
I think the biggest mistake that traders make is not keeping it clean, and they're chasing after indicators. They throw in multiple indicators together. We see a common mistake. So if you're on here and this is you, maybe you can work on this. We see people loading up like 4, 5, 6 indicators together. They don't even know what indicators they have on the charts. They're really confused, and basically they just make it way more complicated than what it needs to be. And I think that it's kind of like the thing is they're like, okay, well, I'm going to combine this system with this system, and then I'm going to combine a third system, and then finally I'm going to find something that works. So I think the biggest thing that traders have a problem with is keeping it simple.
And that is kind of, I think most people start off with simple, then they go to complicated, and then go back to simple after. But that's a progress to be made for sure. Yeah. Now, how do you combine, and this is a question I still have for myself because I find it hard. How do you combine trading with having a business and doing all these different things on the side? Because you also have your family, you have a bunch of things. How does that happen to work together?
Well, that's a big challenge. And I think I sometimes do it well and sometimes I don't, because, I find out that I'm getting overcompensated. I'm spending too much time in one area and then another area suffers. Like family life is a good one. If I'm working a lot and then I find out I'm not coming home, and then things start to suffer at home. So then I got to readjust and get back on track with what's going on with the family. And the business is the same way. Trading is the same way if I'm not putting enough time into it. So there's a couple really good tips for this that I think that can help you out. Number one is to have processes and systems. If you have good processes and systems, you can do much more. So if you're doing something, just figure out a way to just take some time and look at it, and then write down a system on a way to get it done faster and to get it done more efficient. And the really, really powerful thing about systems is you can then pass that on to someone else. So you say, okay, here's what I do. This, and you break it down into system, and then you teach someone else to do that system. And so then you don't have to do it at all. So I would say first, break it into a system so that it makes it more manageable. And if you can't hire someone to do it like I can, then it still helps you out because you're able to have more time to focus on what it is that you want to focus on, because you have a process for everything. Another really important tip on that is to just have plans and goals. Really understand what it is you want to accomplish in each area of your life. What are your trading goals? What are your business goals? What are your traveling goals? What are your family goals? And then write out those goals and then just evaluate it. Am I meeting those goals? I do this thing I call it a life plan, right? And so I take a full day off, maybe even a couple days. I get out of the office and I go over my life plan, right? I say, and I ask myself some really good questions about what I want with my life. And I have each category. I have financial questions. I have business questions. I have family questions. And I write all of those things down. and then I answer it out. And I actually have a really good resource for the listeners. It's a book by Michael Hyatt. I'm actually typing it out because I want to make sure I get the name right. It's a really good book. It's called Living Forward book. It's Living Forward by Michael Hyatt. Great book. I use that book to plan my life out, every area, and then I write it down, and then I review it often. Like, okay, am I out of balance in this area? Am I doing the things that I want to do? Am I accomplishing my goals? Am I spending time with my family? Am I accomplishing my financial goals? And doing that has helped me tremendously maintain the balance and accomplish what I want.
Nice. When it comes to trading goals, do you have a specific kind of dollar amount goal? Because I think most people have that, but it's not necessarily the best way to achieve your goals.
So I think that one of the big problems with traders, this is another, you talked about things that trip traders up. I think a lot of times is coming up with realistic profit targets. A lot of traders get excited about making billions of dollars in the markets, but I like to look at some really solid examples of people like Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is a really good investor, and he's made consistent gains over time, and now he's one of the richest people in the world. And it's not because he's has this amazing strategy and that he's, you know, crushing it day trading in the markets. It's because he's consistent. I can't remember exactly what his numbers are, but it's like 12% a year is his average. He just keeps rolling all of that over into other things. So, you know, my profit targets are very low, and I just want to continue to grow slowly over time. And that is actually one of the things that's really helped me out a lot, was to keep my profit targets lower, because that's when you get into trouble with leverage. Is you're like, okay, I want to try to make $1 million in X amount of days, and I need to maximize my strategy. But really, if you look at, there's some online trading calculators that will show you good percentages that you can actually do really well if you only earn 2% a month. You know, you just look at that number, 2% a month. 1 or 2% a month is actually really good. You can experience great returns every year with limited amount of risk.
Yeah, definitely. And I was like kind of, so I used to have this like big expectation myself, and then I went back to normal when I started to speak with the traders in big banks and institutions that they have really small targets by month or by year. If they have like 20% per year, they're like super happy, and it's like amazing for them. And then you compare this to someone who want to make like 100 or 200% a month, and it's completely different, right?
Yeah, it's a lot tougher to get those big gains. If you can keep your targets smaller, it's a lot easier. And I just am like, okay, I'm just going to make it easy on myself. I don't want to put this extra pressure to do these. I don't want to be Wonder Boy. You know, I'm just going to keep it simple and look a little long term, right? We're in this for the long game. If you think long term and you come up with a really good trading strategy that works, and you calculate it over 30 years, then you're going to really see some good growth. And then you take your profits and you roll it into other things. That's when you really start to see it. You roll your profits from your trading into more trading, and then into other investments, businesses or real estate or anything else that can give you a nice return on investment.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also awesome because you took the route of having multiple streams of income, not only one like trading, but different things. And that, I think, is pushing you way ahead of most people that only want to rely on trading for everything in their lives.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do really well with that, and they're really focused on that, and that's great. Like, if you want to do the one thing and do it really well, that's fine. But also getting secondary sources of revenue can be really helpful too, especially if it's a passive sort of revenue that you don't even have to think about. Like, you can roll your trading profits into a real estate index fund or something like that returns 8% a year. That's not great, but it's basically a guaranteed return on your investment. So it's a more conservative, but it's automatic without any type of work involved on your part. So you work to earn your first profits, you roll it back into something that you don't have to work on, and then you just keep making money continually. One of the first lessons I learned, and this is another resource that the listeners can research. Hopefully, we'll put all the links in below after the talk. But it's a book I read called The Richest Man in Babylon, and it teaches to live below your means. So if you make $100, you only spend 90. Take those $10 and invest it in something, and then when you make $10 in profit, you then reinvest that $10, and then when you make another $20, you reinvest it, and you just keep reinvesting your profits, and you end up creating this giant wealth snowball.
That's pretty amazing. So since we talk about goal, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of experience in that, like creating goals, action plans. If someone was to come up to you and say, I want to make $10,000 per month trading, what would be your response to them? What would you tell them?
Well, I would sit down and have a nice long talk with them, because that's not something that I can just say, okay, well, then trade the euro now. It would probably take a good conversation where I would ask them a lot of deep questions about what they're trading. So I would ask them, how much money do they have to start? What is their strategy? What type of trading do they want to do? What type of returns are they expecting? There's just so many different variables to get that answer. And so I would say the first thing is to make sure you have your plan in place, stick with it, and talk to people too. I think listening to shows like this, one of the great things, you've got this great show and you're talking to all these successful traders. People can then listen to these shows, get tons of information, and then email people later. Email all the guests, email Etienne, email me. People are willing to give out information if you are seeking it. Yeah. And so get clarification. I've built out trading plans and I ask people what their opinion is on it. I have them look at it.
I think that's the mistake people make. They're used to only listening to videos or listening to a podcast, or reading a book, but they won't do the next step, which is like reaching out to the person, and that's a big step to make.
Right, and me and you talked about it when you were on my show. So I have a podcast called the Cashflow Hacking Podcast, where I talk to people about how to create many different streams of income, not just trading. Trading is one of the things we talk about a lot on the show, but the biggest thing, the biggest benefit for me of that show is just talking to these great guests, because I'm learning so much information all the time by talking to people. I think you even shared it when I interviewed you about like 3 different kinds of learning, and one of them was talking. What did you say about that?
So this is by German, and I've done the same thing for my trading. So you learn something, and you get better at something by 3 parts. So you have to learn, you have to apply, but then you have to teach other people what you do. Because if you only read and learn and stuff, you will be good, but then you have no clue how to apply. And if you only learn and apply, then you're good, but you don't have this next step, which you take by teaching people and sharing what you know with people. And that's what I've been doing for the past like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I would probably venture to guess that you've grown a lot in those 3 years, just from the work that you're doing in your trading and traveling, and on the podcast of interviewing and talking to people. You're probably at a much higher level than you were when you first started.
Yeah, I believe, and this is only like estimating stuff, but I believe that the learn and apply part might be like maybe 40-60%, and the rest is like all teaching people. So you get way more by teaching than by applying and learning.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, that's really good. So you think that just because you've taken that step to put yourself out there, that you could have doubled your potential on your understanding of trading?
I believe, yeah.
Well, that's really good. That's excellent.
So that's an advice for people that want to make $10,000 per month. Anything else you would tell them to do or to apply?
No. I would just say, really study it and talk to people. Reach out and talk to somebody. Don't be the guy that just has to do everything on their own. I don't want to do things on my own. One of the guys that I'm under says something when he's in a group of people. He says that he wants to be the dumbest guy in the room, which means he wants to be in a lot of room with people a lot smarter than him, and he can ask them questions and learn from them. So I like that scenario And I want to be the dumbest guy in the room, and I want to learn from people, so that it's a lot easier when you're learning from experts than trying to figure it out yourself. I'm just not that smart.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So Scott says, great book by So the Richest Man in Babylon. He says he made his kid read that book when they were a teenager. That's awesome. Really, really cool. And yeah, someone says, you really only know something when you can really teach it clearly and people can understand really well what you teach. And I truly believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think teaching helps you to break down the content in such a way that you really understand it, because you're like, okay, maybe the way I explained it isn't right. What can I do? And you really dive into it even more, and it helps you get a greater understanding for sure.
And I feel like a lot of success that you have in life, business, trading, whatever, comes down to the relationship you have and the people you talk to. Like, I've got so many ideas from just talking to people, and of course, it takes time to apply them and stuff, put them in place. But the best value you get from other people, I believe. But maybe you see something different. So I'm kind of curious. How is it for you?
Well, I have a couple really good things that are working for me. Okay, for my success. So number one is I'm not very creative, right? So I probably don't have a creative bone in my body. With that being said, what I'm really good at is learning from other people and then applying it. So I find out what people are doing. I get around really smart people that are having a lot of success, and then I just recreate it. And I think the biggest action step for me is application. So when I learn something, I write it down and I do it. It's that action step. So if I am learning a new strategy, I'm going to make sure that I actually apply it and I learn it and I do it. Because what happens is if you learn it and then you don't do it, then there's like this disconnect in your mind, and I feel like you actually get dumber. Like you just have this extra knowledge that doesn't do anything for you. So I like to learn and then I do. So I make it very clear point. You can't do everything that you learn. So like, for example, if I go to a training, a trader's education, like I go to Traders Expo and they have like 20 speakers, I'll go there and I'll listen to them, and my mind will get totally blown by all the information that I learn, but I keep notes. And when I leave that, I make sure that I have a minimum of 3 action steps. I said, I learned 55 things this weekend and my mind is about to explode. I said, but I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to apply at least 3 of those things, and make the changes in my trading. So that way I'm always improving and I'm not just learning and not doing.
Yeah, because it's really, it feels better to sometimes just read a book and get ideas or watching videos and get tons of insights. But then, yeah, if you don't apply, you feel overwhelmed at the end of the month. And that's not a place to be in.
Yeah, and that's how you grow as a person too. You grow from doing. Your body and your mind learns because your mind and body are working together, and that's how you learn and grow.
Love that. So we'll make sure to link your podcast. I think you have a channel on YouTube as well with your podcast and all the interviews you do that are amazing. That's going to be linked below after this is done. But where can people find you if they want to connect with you or reach out?
Well, I'm doing a lot of things. I know that this is primarily for traders, so I'll talk about that first. Tradingstrategyguides.com. I've got a really great tool that I created a long time ago, and it's called the Forex Power Indicator. It's a tool that helps traders find currency strength. And so we give that out for free for anybody, and it updates all the time online. And so it helps you to find the strongest currency. So in currency trading, you want to combine the weakest currency with the strongest to get the best trends. And so we have a tool called the Power Indicator that will help you find those trends. So you can go to our website and get that tool, and it's Trading Strategy Guides, Forex Power Indicator. And Etienne, I sent you the link for that earlier. Yeah. You can share it to people.
I'll put it in the chat right now so you guys can check it out. Yeah.
I think a lot of people have probably seen that are on the show that are watching today have seen it. It's a pretty useful tool. If you're interested in finding me on my other activities like the podcast, the Cashflow Hacking Podcast, you can Google search Cashflow Hacking Podcast, and it's a YouTube channel, and also you can listen to it as well when you're driving to work or something like that. We have some really good guests that can teach you actionable tips on if you're trading, how to trade better. Like we had Etienne, he shared some really good trading tips. And we also have other, like if you want to start a website or you want to start investing or real estate, we have all kinds of different experts in multiple different areas on how to increase your cash flow.
Nice, awesome. And speaking of which, I want to make this interview and this channel really actionable and action focused. So, what is one thing you think people should apply in the next week? Because we talk about you got to learn, you got to listen to this and appreciate the insights. But then, what is one thing you recommend them to act on for this week?
Okay, so I like that. That's a great thing. So here's what I would do. I would like for you guys to, for those of you that are listening, write out your trading plan, step by step, a very simple process, and then get someone else to look at it and review it with you. And then you guys have a conversation about your plan and how well you think it'll work. You'll probably find some holes in it if you have a conversation with somebody. Even ask somebody on YouTube, like somebody busy like Etienne. He's a busy guy, but he might take the time to talk to you about it. You never know. So it doesn't hurt trying, or find somebody on a trader's forum, find a trading friend, but write out a plan and then get somebody to look at it. And then you can make changes to make it better.
Love that. Love that. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it so much. And guys, we'll do one thing. If you send me your trading plan, as Casey talked about, I'll review it for free. I'll look into it. I'll reply to you. But you have to tell me that you listen to this interview today with Casey, and we'll make this work. But thanks, Casey. I appreciate it. And you guys, we'll catch you guys soon.
All right. And I definitely, you guys heard that. You need to get him to review it because he's a really good trader.